So last week on my Instagram and Facebook feed, I mentioned how my Endo handpiece does not it's not designed to fit in this type of delivery unit. It's either this is a Peltman crane delivery unit. It doesn't fit in my A deck either. So yeah, that's always frustrating. And so they have the little cradle that you can set on top, but I think that's obnoxious. I'm just not used to setting a handpiece up there. Plus the file is poking out by everything potentially. And so anyway, I tend to put it in here and forget, and I don't want to drop it. So what I did is I took a PVS putty, and maybe I'll find that video later, and I basically wrapped it around here. Okay, I paused the video. I went back to my office, and this is basically the mold I made of it. You can see that it sort of, well, slides over. It's hard to get this. Oh yeah, I taped it together. So it's a piece of tape, so I won't even be able to separate this very easily. But basically, I wrapped it around there and then shoved it in there, let it set, pulled it off, and then peeled it apart. And I took just some Scotch tape, and then I scanned it in my cone beam to make basically a DICOM of it, and then converted that to an STL. And then that STL, I redesigned. I modified it to be exactly how I wanted it to be, and this was the net result. Okay, and so it looks, honestly, it reminds me of like a larynx. I don't know, it's hard to describe, but anyway, it looks like somebody's throat. But you can see that it's got a channel, and this whole thing is meant to fit right in here, and it's very stable. If you can see, I'm moving the whole thing around. Now I can get it out if I want, but it locks right in there. I printed this, by the way, I designed it mainly in MeshMixer because these shapes are sort of, I don't know, unique. I didn't want to have to do more sophisticated design, but then this fits right in there. You see that it locks in there. It's not going anywhere. You don't even have to have it all the way in, and it's not going to fall out. Much more secure. Let it fall, set it up in there, and it's done. Okay? And again, it pops right out when you're all done with it. So anyway, just kind of a cool way to use our technology that we have, which would be, in this case, I used a cone beam, and then I used MeshMixer, a free software to design it, and then I used an FDM, a Prusa MK3 3D printer with PETG filament because it's a little bit flexible. Can't tell much, but it is. And I also did record the entire design process. I'll throw that up on Instagram in case, or not Instagram, on YouTube in case anyone wants. It's a long video because I didn't rehearse it. I just designed it, and so it ended up taking about 30 or 40 minutes. I can't remember. So I know it sounds silly for most people, but I'm happy. All right, talk to you guys later.
All right, so at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and go to model editing to convert this DICOM into an object. So let me find it. So the software is going to recognize this DICOM as like a patient DICOM, which is fine. We're going to just hit OK. I guess it's not the worst thing in the world to go ahead and orient it now. It makes it easy. A good time. We can do it later as well. But I'll go ahead and just do that. Okay. Geez, I'm all out of whack here. Whatever. Go ahead and move forward. And the software should open up, and then we'll have a chance to convert this into an STL file. Honestly, I'm not sure which of those three planes was correct, so rotating was kind of pointless there. All right, let's hit close. All right, so here we go. Here's our little object. And it looks pretty good. I am going to take a look at it. Everything looks pretty solid, except there are no holes in these locations. So I'm going to try and expand it until that goes away. I don't mind if there are holes, but I don't, because I can fix that later, but I do want to. I'm basically going until there's no artifacts. Or no sorry, no little blebs sticking off. There's a little bit here, and it's tough because you're trying to turn this CT image of an STL or of PBS into a solid object. This is where it was sitting on the sponge, I believe. Yeah. So you're going to get a little bit of haziness down here. But anyway, I'm going to go back to where I was. Everything's closed. This looks the closest to what it really was. And I'm going to go ahead, I think I'm going to trust this. This is really just a visual inspection, honestly. And now I can take some digital calipers and measure it to see if it's true to form or if it is overdoing it. But yeah, it's a fine line here. And I'm going to go ahead and leave it like this. And so I'm going to go over to my surfaces panel, and now I'm going to go click on create model. And it's going to convert this into an STL as opposed to DICOM data. So this takes a little while. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video here. All right, and I'm back. So now you can see, well, this view right here is pretty good that you can, it rolls right around and it's turned into a physical object. Now I'm going to say that it looks to me, based on the data, that it's a little bit positive, a little bit big on it, but it's hard to say for sure. But I'm okay with that because I can always shrink it back a little bit as I work through this and develop from here. So, am I happy with everything? Everything looks pretty darn good to me. And actually, come to think of it, I am glad that I oriented it, even if I didn't orient it properly, which I actually, I want to say did the way I wanted it to. I wasn't really sure, but having it this way, having oriented it already, when I imported it, makes this view, this analysis much easier. Otherwise, it would be all awkward in position and whatnot. So yeah, that was probably a good thing. The nice thing is as I mentioned, this isn't, it's being a little bit positive here. Worst case scenario, since this is a tapered object, it's just going to sit a little bit high, and so will the handpiece will sit a little high. So need to kind of figure that out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and measure the diameter of the handpiece and see how that is compared to here, and that'll give me a good idea of how true this is if I need to make any adjustments. The rest of it, the tapered portions, I'm not too worried about. All right, I'm going to go ahead and, oh yeah, to export it, now I've got this, I can turn off the DICOM and I can see, let's change the color here so you can see what it is that I've actually created. And here's the STL. Okay, I'm going to export this by going to here, export data. Just click on that. I don't really think it matters, but I'm going to go ahead and click very high. And go ahead and click export. And go. All right, it's exported. Now I can work with it in other software. Okay, so I did go ahead and measure, and the internal diameter here should be about 22 millimeters for exact contact with the actual handpiece. So I'm going to aim for 22.5 so I can have a little bit of passivity, but yeah, that's about it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want some clean margins, and so I'm going to go ahead and I'm doing this on the fly. I haven't actually worked through this, but trying to decide. I'm not going to I was going to plane cut it, but I actually want exposed. You'll see I want it to be exposed. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the S button to select, and I'm going to chop it right here. Move it up a little bit, and okay, I'm going to hit B to give myself some smooth borders. Okay, let's take a look at that. That's pretty good. I guess I don't know that I want that much in. Well, yeah, that should be fine. I'm going to go ahead and hit delete. And so now I can work from here. Now, one thing I do want to do is I want to bridge this area right here. I don't like this fact that it didn't close up right there. So I'm trying to think of my best solution here. Let's select again. Let's make that a little bit smaller. And let's just sweep right up here. Okay. Unselect that or deselect that. And I think we're probably pretty good. Let's hit delete. And now I'm going to go ahead and make this smaller. Here and here. Control B to bridge this across. Looks good. S to select. Select Control B. Looks pretty good. Okay, and now I can just repair these areas. Oh, that's a flat fill. I didn't mean to do that. Good, I didn't click it. I'm going to hit smooth fill and click on this guy, click on that guy, and it looks pretty good. So now, I'm curious, what were those other errors? Obviously, I don't want to close these rims off, but I'll go ahead and repair that. See what's going on. Okay. There was a little hole, a little tunnel somewhere, and I think that may have just fixed that. This is where I was worried about it having one. And I don't think it is anymore. I wonder if I hit select, does it highlight anything on the other side? Doesn't. So it doesn't appear that it's created a tunnel. If it had created a tunnel, like a penetration from one to the other, my selection would have popped right through onto this side. So good. I've got two different shells. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom. This should be a little bit easier. And hold on a second. Okay, so now at this point, I'm going to go ahead and slice this part off as well. And so let's look. Did I get that pretty even? It looks like I did. I could spend more time making sure it's a little more exact, but I don't think it really matters all that much. So I'm going to go ahead and hit B to smooth this out. Hit delete. And okay, so if you're wondering why did I want two different shells, you know, if I had done a plane cut, it may have sealed that off. But the truth is, I don't want that. I don't want a plane cut. Now you can see all this ragged surface over here. That's disappointing because that is because of the sponge, and I need this to be smooth like it is over here. So how do I fix that? And I got to think about that for a second. I could try to cut this in the middle and mirror image it over, and that might be a good option. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and turn on my objects browser, and I'm going to duplicate, and that way I can work on it however I want, do whatever I want without any fear of losing all the work I've done in case I don't like what the results are. And also I'm going to go ahead and save, because this is a pretty complicated file. It may not look like it. There's a lot of surfaces here, so I'm going to save this. Okay. And so now if my computer crashes, I can always open it back up. Okay, so let's get this out of the way, and let's turn on the sculpt brush and turn on robust smooth. Let's make it a little bit larger. Turn this down a little bit while we figure this out, and I'm just going to try to smooth it back. Now, what's funny is that as you change the angle, it'll change how it smooths. Something you just figure out with time, I guess you might say. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I am going to try and mirror this over, because I think that might be an interesting approach. So I'm going to hit escape. I'm going to click on this. I'm going to click on the select bar. I'm going to highlight this, hit the Y button to separate it. So now that the inside is no longer part of it. Okay, so now I've got this. and I'm going to click on Edit and Mirror, where, oh, good grief, right up top. And I'm going to try to bisect it perfectly. Is that necessary? Maybe not, but I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to turn the original back on so that I can then see how close does it. That was actually, I'd already done it pretty well, actually. Yeah, I think I like this. I mean, I don't know that for certain it's going to work, but I've got a lot of mesh overlap, which makes me think it's pretty consistent. And I don't see a great disparity from the original to this. So I think I might have got it already, which is, I don't know. I think it's pretty impressive. Let me click. I'm going to click OK. And so now let's turn this off. And there's that. And this side, this part right here doesn't matter because that's open to, that's open. That doesn't, there's nothing important there holding it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use the select tool. And I'm going to come just like this, create a nice smooth line. And I'm going to hit B to smooth that out. Oh, nope. That didn't work. It's because of these little, I think it's because of these little random spots. I'm holding the shift button to deselect those. I'm going to hit B again. It might not work. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me, actually. I'm just going to hit delete, whatever. And delete. Okay. So now we've also got these little rough areas here. But let me think, how relevant is that? That does not matter because, again, that is above. This is the top of the delivery unit. So anything above it is more or less irrelevant. I may want there to be some. So I'm going to go ahead and just smooth these areas out. And good grief. I'm going to dial this strength up. Go up a little bit larger and just smooth the heck out of this. This does not matter. I probably could and should have done this before I mirrored it, because then it would be symmetric, but I didn't. Oh well. I'm going to zoom in here. I'm going to hit my select button. I'm going to hit F to erase. Oh, didn't like that. F to erase and fill. Done. Once again, sculpt. Let's smooth this all out. Let's get back to the bigger tool. And select. F to erase and fill. Good. Oh, F. Accept that. Okay. So, sculpt. All right. So now we got the outer shell pretty well set up. Once again, I'll go ahead and smooth this stuff out. All right, everything looks pretty smooth. All right, looks almost like a throat. Anyway, all right, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna duplicate this just so I don't accidentally, once again, change it. All right, outer shell final. Okay, So I'm going to turn that off just so I've got that. And now I'm going to look at the inside, because here's the thing I mentioned before. Well, let's turn this off. Let's hide this, turn this on, and let's play around with this a little bit. First of all, that part got disconnected. That's why that disappeared from my previous one. That's where it was. So that's unfortunate, but again, it should not matter, as it's not going to be what's holding the handpiece in. In fact, I'm going to do something. I'm going to go ahead and bridge this. That looks pretty smooth. And now I can go ahead and just hit Inspector, Smooth. There you go. And done. And I'm going to go ahead and delete this because I've now edited that. And now outer show final. Okay, so let's work on this a minute. Let's get this looking good. First of all, I'm going to go ahead and delete these extra pieces. Don't need that. And now I'm going to first check the internal diameter of this. To do that, I'm going to go to Units Measurements. I'm going to click from here to here, and then I just have to drag this up. It's not, this software isn't the best for taking these kind of measurements, but it does the job. Okay, and it says that's 21.9, so it's pretty accurate. I want it bigger, but it is pretty accurate. Let's go ahead and measure from here to here. It's about the same height. Well, that's pretty low actually. So let's move it up here because it does taper, and so that's about the same height. Same, and it's pretty straight across. Maybe move this over a little bit. And 21.8. So point is, I need to increase this. I need to expand this. But before I do that, I want to smooth this out. And I'm going to click on the Sculpt tool. Okay, pretty smooth. And now I'm going to, well, I'm just doing single clicks on these areas, not trying to be too aggressive because I want it to still fit just the way I got it, but it's just the nature of this PVS material. And okay, I wonder if I look at this where this is flat, and am I in orthographic? I am. So orthographic view is really nice for this because although this might be flat, now this isn't. So orthographic, when this is flat, the base, I know this is as well. So now I can do select, select, okay. Let's see if I can get a smooth border. If I can't, I'll try a different option, but yeah, I'm gonna try that. And then hit delete. And now I'm going to do that and hit T to transform and just go straight up with it. I wonder how this will look, because it looks like it's going to be really rough. Yeah, I don't like that. So I'm going to leave the part that I had on there because it was extra data. And I'd rather just keep that for now. I don't even want it to change color like that. Okay, so we've got this as is. And now I am going to, what am I going to do? I am going to, I could flip it out, invert it to smooth things out a little more and do other things with it. If I needed to repair things, sometimes that would be helpful, but I really don't see the purpose here. Looking at the outside as pink kind of is odd. But now let's go ahead and turn on this guy. And so now I'm going to oh yeah, actually I'm going to turn this off, but I'm going to turn the magnet on. So now I can see the positioning within it, because I want to have it fairly centered, and I want to have it oriented properly. So now I can see that I can slide the whole thing backward. Let's go ahead and work on some coordinates here so that things are symmetric. Turn them all on. And then I'm going to view the grid. And where is my front? Well, I want to see where it's front and back, but a little widget is supposed to be up here in the top right corner. Sometimes it disappears, and I honestly cannot. I'm not sure how to turn that on. It's like it's there or it's not. So here's a print bed. We can just center it off of here. Okay, so I've got everything selected. I'm going to hit the T to transform, and I'm going to bring this up front. I'm going to bring it down. Maybe I don't need to rev it in the middle. I'll just put it in the middle, and I'm going to rotate it until that seam is pretty much right at the middle. Hit accept. View grid. Okay, yeah, the grid did already move. Just wanted to make sure that grid was where I wanted it to be, and I think the whole thing needs to rotate just a little. Okay, now hit accept. All right, so now I can work a little bit more within my coordinate system. And all right, let's go ahead and duplicate this as well. I'm going to move it back a little bit, but I also want to tip it back a little bit, because I remembered seeing that I didn't like the way it was tilted back by comparison. And so I've just tipped it back a little bit. I didn't even measure really. I also can slide it over a little. Looks pretty good. And I don't want this to be so. Yeah, I can increase the scale there of the transform tool by just using the arrow buttons up and down. Now most of the pressure is going to be applied to the front of it, because that's gravity. It's tipped down, so I am cheating it more to the back than the front. I want more strength there. Maybe I went just a touch too far, but there we go. I think we're looking pretty good, honestly. I'm pretty happy with this. Okay. Everything seems pretty centered. Hit accept. And yeah. And now I'm going to go ahead, and now that I've repositioned this, I am going to copy it again, because now I am going to scale it larger. And I want to scale this. Right now it's just shy of 22 millimeters, which means it needs to be 22. It's just shy of that, and I need it to be slightly bigger, almost a millimeter bigger. So I'm going to scale it by. I'd like to get it about a millimeter bigger in diameter. So I'm going to go ahead and scale it by 0.4%, or yeah. I gotta do it. We're up a calculator. Yeah, so 1 divided by 22, that's a little less than, or more than, sorry. So yeah, 4.5%. So cancel. I'm going to have uniform scaling here. 1.045. There we go. Now, I didn't necessarily have to go vertically as well, but I don't really think that matters, especially with as small of a scaling as that is. And now I'm just going to go ahead and hit accept, and let's just look at the difference. It's pretty minimal. It's probably even more than I wanted, but this printed object is going to be very hard. I'm going to undo that though. I'm going to go down to 3%. Worst case scenario, I have to reprint it. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and turn that back off. Hit Control Z. 0.03. And there you go. So that's not much, but a little bit. And I'm good with that. So I'm going to hide this. And so now this is inner shell final. Okay, so now I've got this and this. I'm going to duplicate these again, turn them off. And now I am going to combine these two things together, and going to try to join them, which gets a little tricky. I'm going to try to join them. Actually, that did better than I thought it might. Okay. Hit accept. And what did I forget to do? Save. We are way too far in this to forget that. So that's done. I'm going to turn off the print bed. Don't need to see that anymore. I don't need to see the grid anymore, but that's fine. And now I'm going to hit select. Edit. Join. Looks good. Accept. And so now I can plane cut it or I can smooth it. I'm going to try plane cutting it. See how that looks. See if it seals it off. It does. Yeah, I like that. So I'll deal with these little indents later. And plane cut. There we go. And there we go. So now I've got an adapter. I mean, again, I want to fix this because I like everything to be perfect, but it's going to be a little bit hard to do that. In this software, it's not great for this. Just sculpting, dragging up. More than anything, just trying to make it so it's not so obvious there, and now I'll try to smooth it. And now I'm just going to kind of smooth off all the edges, turn the strength down a little bit, and that'll help it to all blend in. Plus, I've got differing colors right now, which just makes everything that much more obvious. Now, I don't want to smooth it too much because I am going to try to print it on its edge. I'll probably print it from the bottom up actually though, because that's a bit thicker. Now, one thing I do have to do that I almost forgot is I have to create a way for you to get the hose in and out, or the cord in and out of here. And that's obviously, pretty important. So let me think on that while I'm smoothing this out. Okay, so I just stepped away and actually measured the diameter of the hose, and it's about 6.5 millimeters. So I am going to do something a little bit funky here. This is, again, me sort of thinking out loud. So here's the inner shell. Let's go ahead, let's hide this. Let's duplicate it again. And this time I'm going to hit Control Alt to highlight the whole thing, edit, flip normals, and now I'm going to go ahead and analysis inspector. Let's go ahead and seal this off. That's fine. Okay, so now it's a solid object. Is that necessary? No, not really. Truth be told, all I really needed is the shape, but whatever. So I'm going to click on the, I'm going to hit translate, T to translate. I'm going to move this out here. I'm going to turn on the outer shell the copy of it. And I need to be able to get this more or less. Well, I don't want to go, I just want to go up with it. And I want to go out with it. Okay. So I don't want to necessarily go this side. I didn't have it perfectly rotated, but that'll help me there. Go up a little bit. And so now I'm just going to try to create a channel based off of this. So what I need is, what do I need? Yeah, I'm going to actually go all the way to the top. So this is practically sitting on here. Okay. Now I could infinitely expand it mesiodistally, but or drag it out, or scale it. But instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the outer shell, bring in, see if I can find it. I can bring this in, flip it over, and I'm going to make it super, hit accept, hit T, let's get it close. And I'm going to go way long with it. Way long with it. Alright. It's about the same taper right there. And I'm going to hit accept. I'm going to hit edit, plane cut. Accept. And so now I'm going to go ahead and hit T, transform, and I'm going to make it, well, shoot, I don't even, dang it, I'm sorry. I don't actually want a cone. I already have a cone. I want, what do I want? I want, okay, so let's do it this way. First of all, I need to have a 7 millimeter. Okay. And that's going to create the channel apical to it for the cable itself. So that's the first step, and I can have this super wide. Okay, and now I need to have essentially, I'm going to go ahead and go as wide as that. Okay, so am I at, let's turn off uniform scaling, red X is 8.5, or 8.4, let's go to 8.5, oops, 8.5, okay, so that's about the apical diameter there. Hit accept. Now I'm going to duplicate it, bring this up here. Okay, so now I've got it that way. I need to, oh, this will be interesting. Let me duplicate this. This one I'm going to tilt. How many degrees was that? I think it was, I gotta pay attention. I'm at, we'll say 6 degrees. Okay. Slide that over here. Looks good. Hit OK. And now I'm going to take this one, 6 degrees, to match. Okay. Slide it over. Maybe a bit much, but I think that's fine. Hit accept, and so now I've created a channel that more or less, or a couple of blocks that will create a channel that should more or less be the right shape for this to slide in. So hit accept. Let's turn off this guy. Let's turn on this. And let's go ahead and combine these. And now we can move them as one. Okay. And I need to bring this up. That was a mistake. I forgot. I don't know how that happened exactly. I must have lined it up to the wrong thing. Okay, this part, I need to scale it much bigger. Okay, hit accept. And so now I'll see if I can do a Boolean subtraction, but I always hit save first. Okay, so let's take this guy, select this one, and let's just see if we can get this to work. I'm not overly confident, but I'll use 3D Builder if it doesn't work. Okay, and this was the result. And lots of little error things. Again, I was not surprised. I'm not surprised. The sad thing is I really would like to just accept it and then go in and manually delete and repair things, but the software won't let me. I am going to bet it won't let me, at least. Let me hit accept, and yeah, see, fatal error. So, so instead, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to export this. Solid adapter, and I'm going to select this, export, channel. Okay, so now 3D builder, new scene. Going to hit this and this, drag them both in at the same time. It needs to be, make sure you have your units as millimeters, and my default is inches, whatever. That will not be a good thing. So now it's in here. It's kind of weird, this software, you get kind of used to it, but I'm going to go ahead and just click on this one. I'm going to go to edit, and I'm going to click subtract. And there, it's done. It's just amazing how much faster this software is for that stuff. And hit file, save as, what I'm really wanting, Endo adapter, all final. Endo handpiece. Delivery unit adapter. Change the file type to STL. Hit save. And there we go. Final. Here it is. So let me go ahead and open up Rayware. Now, that whole smoothing off of the bases is probably a bad idea because it just ends up making it going to be a little bit harder to align. So like that, because I smoothed it too much, it doesn't like that. There, now that's smooth. And this will print. I'm trying to think anything that will fail. It's not going to fail. I can't see any reason why it would. Printing the other way actually could be a problem because of this big flat ledge, but we don't have any ledges. So this is ready to print. I'm probably going to print it at home using an FDM printer just because I need to leave. But, oh, well, that's interesting. It has the channel. Where did that go? Okay, so why did I import the wrong thing? Final. I did solid adapter. Silly me. All right, so base. Just click somewhere over here so I can visualize the base. And there we go. So now it's ready to print. And again, I'm probably going to print this using FDM just so I'm going to go home. But you could print it in surgical clad resin, print it in a lot of different things. Possibly even ortho IBT resin, because then it would be squishy and a little bit more pliable, and that might work. I honestly don't know. But yeah. So there you go. Long video for any of you that are interested. Hopefully that kind of gives you a little insight into my mind and how I work through little projects like this. So, all right. Thanks for watching.